All right, I got 6 o'clock. I just texted David to make sure he's got the information. So I call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. List of members: Celine Dion. So,
Celine Dion.
yeah, you can tell I'm sorry, I'm a little tight. Celine Muldowney,
Here.
David Dempsey,
Yeah.
Mark Sant,
Here.
and our representative from the Select Board, Alicia Greco.
Here.
Okay. David Brohl will be joining us shortly. So for the very last time, and I actually am going to not miss this part of it, I have to go through this, so I apologize. Today is Monday. I got to make sure I read this right. Today is Monday, June 7th, and the time is 6:01 p.m. And we open the Recreation Committee meeting. As a preliminary matter, this is Mike Volpone, Chair of the Newbury Recreation Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. David Brohl is here. Hello, David. Can't hear you.
Hello.
There
How are you?
David Dempsey,
Affirmative.
Celine Muldowney,
Affirmative.
Mark Sant,
Affirmative.
Alicia Greco, Select Woman.
Yes.
Okay. Employee reps are the town attendees.
Second.
Matthew Cooper,
Present.
Diane.
Here.
Okay. And anticipated guests, we're hoping that Brian from the Conservation Committee can join us. We're waiting to hear that. And Jack Rubicki is also here for the meeting. Jack?
I am here. I don't know about Jack, but I am.
I know you are, David. I was asking Jack if he was.
Yeah, I lost
Thanks,
you guys
Jack.
for a second.
I'm here,
All
Mike.
right.
I'm here, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening. Today is Monday, June 7th, an open meeting of the Newbury Recreation Committee, which is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, in order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings as such. Governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all the meetings in a public accessible physical location. Furthermore, all members of the public bodies are allowed to encourage to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows for public bodies to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public opinion, public comment, excuse me. For this meeting, the Newbury Recreation Committee is convening by video via conference via Zoom. Is posted on the Recreation Committee agenda, which can be found on the Recreation Committee page on the town's website. The agenda identifies how the public may join this meeting. This agenda can also be accessed from the website's homepage by clicking on the box that says agendas at the top of the news box. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and that take care not to screen share your computer unless you request to do so by me. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Materials were provided to the board committee members prior to the meeting for the review. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. For any discussion items, I, the chair, will go down the list of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, everyone other than board members, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please use earbuds, earphones with tablets, cell phones. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Take care not to share your screen. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board members will be called upon first in alphabetical order to ease the process. If board members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted with a roll call. Thank God that's fine. Let's turn to the first item, and I apologize for anybody that has seen this or watched the videos knows how much I really care about that. Review of the previous meeting's minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at them, including the updated version that Mark sent right before the meeting? Because I found 2 typos and Then I let Mark know there's another one still, so I can certainly point it out. It's just regarding the dates.
I just saw the dates at the end of the, for the next Zoom meeting, but I haven't seen the updated version. So,
Originally had it April 21st,
right.
and then it was resent out for June 17th, and it should have been June 7th. That and the initial date said Amy instead of May, which we all have done typos. Other than that, I thought it was good. Thanks, Mark. Any questions? I need a motion to approve the amended minutes with the correction of the dates.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended with the
Okay.
dates identified.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sorry, guys, my left eye for some reason has been watering for 3 days and it's driving me nuts, so I apologize.
Wouldn't be allergies, would it?
Yes, just a tad. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Celine,
Aye.
David Dempsey,
Aye.
David Brohl.
Aye.
And Mark Sant.
Aye.
All right, the new minutes have been amended. Correspondence, the one thing that I received, other than the bill that came in, Celine, I'm gonna let you talk about in a minute, this is our last meeting this way. As of June 16th, we have been notified by the town that we have to have all meetings in person going forward, unless we're notified. No Zoom will be offered. It is all in person. We'll be at the town at our next meeting. Any questions, comments, or?
Hey, Mike,
Yep.
I was curious, is the Zoom component going to continue to be a part of the committee meetings? Although you're required to be in person, will the public at large be able to view from their seats at home still?
Based on the comment I received from Tracy when I reached out to her, no, Zoom will be ended. We'll still record the meetings, but there will not be a Zoom at this time. There's still a discussion on that, but there has not been a decision that I've seen.
So in order to catch you guys, will have to, the meetings will have to be attended in person to engage.
That's correct.
everyone.
Yes,
All right.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments regarding this? Bills and claims. Celine?
Just one bill from D. Filippo for opening up the sprinkler system, $1,050 that I received today, so I'll pay it
Okay.
shortly.
We're all getting pretty close number wise. I keep getting told to remind between the basketball thing and everything we're doing that we have to make sure we keep an eye on the money. So last I sent around, the latest report showed we have $13,000 available. That's before this, and I think there was one other thing that was coming up, but
The spring mowing?
that's been taken out.
Oh,
So I think I don't think we'll be that close, but I just want to make sure we're good.
I don't anticipate any large bills to spend that much money.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Where it goes under correspondence, more under budgetary stuff. When they certified for the basketball court, we had a certain amount of dollars in our account. How is the money removed from our account versus the initial allocation that was given to the town meeting last year for FY 21? Does our money come out first? I guess my question is, when we made that certification, and how much money was encumbered by the town treasurer to assure that the basketball courts bid could go through?
I think the total amount was just over $19,000, Mark. And according to what I've seen before, which I'm looking at the number right now, it's not showing there, but the money, so let me make this easier for everybody. I'll just share it. Celine, can I share this?
You
screen?
need my permission.
Yes, please.
Shoot. Did that work?
Yes, it did. Where is mine?
While we're waiting for this, I had two Scribner questions. Diane and Matthew, what are your titles and are you here as citizens or as a representative of the town of Newbury? And what department?
So Mark, I'm the treasurer collector, and I'm
Yeah.
here as a follow-up to our April 5th meeting, as working with the board on process and some questions about scheduling software.
Yep.
And Matthew Cooper is joining me. He is our new IT program manager. I'm sorry, IT communications manager. And he was also requested to be here to discuss scheduling software. He works for the town of Newbury.
Thank you I just want to make sure the minutes reflect that. Thank you.
So everybody can see, this is all the money's been spent. So we appropriated 50,000. We actually have $180 left over. We've spent 17, meaning we have about $33,000. The 19 has been taken out, meaning we have approximately 13,700 available left.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Michael? How much was taken out for the basketball court?
About 19,000 and change. I don't have the exact number in front of me. But I did email it out to everybody, so, because that's what was voted on, approved by the select board.
18,000 plus the 17,000.
It's 19 something, Mark.
You can do the math. It's right there under April 6th to encumber appropriation for basketball court. If you take the 39,000
Gotcha.
available minus what's left, that's the amount.
So you're taking everything in the account now for the basketball court?
No, there's still $13,000 left over.
Oh.
17,315.8. So we had, if you take the 50,000 minus the 17,315, that's 32,864.20 cents. If I subtract the 13,764.2 from it, we took out $19,100 even. That's what's been encumbered for the court.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else on that part of the conversation?
Could you just send that out again, Michael? I don't remember seeing it.
I'll have to go dig for it, but I'll get it out.
So as we're getting close to year end here, Celine, you have an AP schedule, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this week where the deadline would be Thursday to get that in for the next check run.
Is that the last one of the year?
No, we still have June 10th and 7/6. So we're gonna do a check run this week. It has to be in by Thursday, June 10th to be paid on June 17th. And then the final one would be July 6th, the year-end warrant, and those checks would be issued on July 13th. So if you don't make it for this one, the check doesn't get cut till July 13th.
Okay, I just got it today, so I'll bang it out.
Yep, and then anything that you are anticipating as not being received by that last warrant, which is due by July 6th, you would need to encumber the funds for a fiscal 21 expenditure. So if you have things that you're expecting receipts or bills for that you're not going to have by July 6th, you need to make sure you encumber those with Eileen DeVoe. So if they don't make that last check run for July 6th with a check date of July 13th, you need to have had the funds encumbered or on hold. Otherwise, they have to go before town meeting to be approved.
Do I need to know exactly what the funds?
You could work with Eileen on that. I'm not the person that encumbers the funds. And I think
The
that.
first year that's ever been brought to my attention.
Did you get the year-end scheduling the memo?
Yeah, but
It's in there as far as
All right.
encumbrances. I just wanted to point, while I'm
I'm
here.
glad you pointed it out because I usually just get the bill and pay it.
Yeah, if you don't have a bill by July 6th, but it's for fiscal 21 services or expenditures, you need to make sure that you encumber or set those funds aside with Eileen.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on that, Selena? You all set?
That's it.
Okay. Old business is the basketball court update. David and I attended the kickoff meeting with Vermont Recreation, Chris Huntress, last Thursday, just to get an idea of what the schedule is. As of right now, they're looking to break ground on July 12th and have the project completed by the beginning of September. They're going to come out and do a walk around probably in the next couple of weeks just to make sure they get the last bit of information with Chris and either David or myself, just to make sure if there's anything they have any questions on. But everything's moving forward. We hope to have a basketball court. It'd be great to have it by Labor Day, but we'll see how it goes from there.
It's great news.
Sounds good.
Any other information that anybody wants to bring up regarding that? David, did you have anything else that meeting you thought would be necessary to talk about?
No, I was just, I was pleasantly surprised about their timeline. In my mind, just the way the construction's been going, I was thinking it was going to be done, October, November. So the idea of having it done by September 1, I thought was pretty amazing. So
I'm going to correct you. Remember that was the question. Chris had said September 1 and they came back and said the beginning of September. So I would refrain. I'm hoping that means before the 10th. I'd love it before then, but when the comment was made about September 1, they said the beginning of September. So I don't know what that officially means, but as far as I'm concerned, if it's in the first 10 days of the month, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. As long as we have something.
One other thing they did discuss, there will be periods of time where it looks like nothing is going on. And that is for cure times on things. So when they get the asphalt down, they won't allow anyone to use it for like 2-3 weeks. So there's going to be times where it looks like work has just stopped, and it isn't really just stopped. It's to allow for cure times. So and one of the things that I thought that they were talking about paint colors and painting the surface, and that was one of the ones that was going to slow down the process. And now that we're not doing that, I don't know if that will bring it closer to September 1 or not, but all this stuff is sort of to be determined with how quickly they get materials and things like that.
That kind of brings us to one of the topics where they want to know for the VersaCourt colors and options. We could look at Triton, we could look at Newbury, and whether we want the whole court to be, it's going to be lined, you'll have the different configurations. But the question is, as a committee, and Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, if this needs to be brought before the select board or anything, but it's a question of what is everybody's thoughts on what we want to do regarding the colors of the court. Do we want to have the Newbury flag in the middle? Do we want to have Triton? We could have Triton in the middle, could have the Newbury flag off to the side, type of an idea. I want to get everybody's opinion.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can, Alicia.
Where it's just the town of Newbury, I would think hard about putting Triton there, because
that's
three town district.
Yep.
Okay.
And
This
I
is
think
Triton.
I don't think the select board needs to weigh in. I think it's a committee choice,
That's
but it
fine.
would be nice if you guys wanted it, their opinion, that would be fine. We could add it to an agenda item. But I think once you decide, I think as long as you an FYI is fine as well.
Mark, you had your hand up before I lost your video.
Oh, I concur with Alicia. I would be reluctant to add Triton simply because it gives people the wrong impression that it was mutually paid for by the other two towns, and it was not. I would suggest keeping a simple green, so if and when we need to do any type of replacement, it's not, it'd be a more seamless opportunity, not opportunity, it would be a seamless process to replace the tile if it was just a simple, say, green for Newbury or a lighter color.
Do you want to go, all right, so as Mark said, that's a great idea. I'm just saying, do we want to then have an outside border around that's a different color? Or do you just want to have it just kind of makes it a little easier for visibility, especially if you're going to have it green with the green grass right next to it. I don't know if we wanted to have like a white border on the outside, or white,
about
red. So I have like the
Yeah,
red
they-
line with the border being around being in white, and then the green court.
Sure.
I like that.
David Dempsey, you're quiet.
I do agree that it should be just the town of Newbury as far as the center of the court.
Okay.
But I think you're gonna have you're still gonna need the white lines for the designation of the, the main circle and the two free throw areas. And then you've got to really decide, do you want all white lining with a green court and then a wider white border for out of bounds? So those are the things you really have to discuss. If you're gonna have an all green court, the white lines with probably a white center court with the emblem in the middle of a white center court would probably really distinguish that center emblem.
Okay.
And what about where the paint, where you go in and out of the paint, you underneath the court, would that be a different color?
We can make that red as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if we keep with the idea of the green, white, and the red, with green being the majority of the court, and then the outer boundaries in red, a lot of the lining in white, and then the two, as Alicia described, the paint areas inside the free throw line being red. I mean, we're keeping a lot of it, and somehow either put the flag or the logo, something on in the center circle if we can get it done. I just want to make sure it doesn't all of a sudden add into additional costs too. So
I think one other thing that we should probably have a discussion about, if the courts are going to be used for anything else, like a handball court or pickleball or any of those, those lines going to have to be contradictory to the white lines of the basketball court. They might use a yellow or a blue or something to that color, so that when those people are playing that game instead of basketball, the out of bounds and the play area would be easily determined.
I'm just writing this down, so give me a second.
Yep.
Border. Paint. All right, so I mean, what I'm hearing is the main part of the court is going to be green. The lines will be done in white. The border is going to be done in red. The paint will be done in red. And when we do the other types of sporting type of situations like handball, pickleball, whatever, we'll choose a different color, such as a yellow or blue, to distinguish between that, or even a light blue, dark. No, I don't want to get to that because it goes back to training. A yellow or a blue at that point.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Do I hear a motion then to accept the color combination that I just read off with a main court of green, lines of white, border and paint of red, and then the additional games as a different color, yellow or blue? I'll find out what we have for availability if it's one of the two. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Will you get
Yeah.
mock-up? Oh, sorry. Will you get a
Yes,
mock-up
can-
of that?
All right, Mark, go ahead.
Do we need PMS color numbers? Because green is vague and we can use the PMS scale to determine precisely what color green we want and what color red we want.
I can ask
And
the
the
town
other
to see if
colors.
they have the colors. I know what you're talking about. That's a good idea, Mark. You want to make sure we match up the colors. If the town has, again, Celine or Diane, I'm not sure if either of you know this. If we have certain colors when the logo's done. And the person that I can actually ask just joined the meeting. So welcome. Hi, Tracy.
Hello.
We have a question that hopefully maybe you can answer or not. We'll find out.
Okay, I'll try.
Do you know if the logo for the town, if the colors have, would you call them, Mark, TMS or
PMS,
EMS.
PMS?
Planetary
Coloring?
Matching System.
Because
Do they
we're
have a
thinking about
number?
the colors for the courts. And we want to make sure we get the right color green, the right color red, the whites, and all the stuff. So,
Actually, maybe the website people might know because they have it on their.
and we have Matt here.
Sorry, Matt.
No, it's not a problem. I don't have those colors as of this statement, but trying to get a match for those colors shouldn't be too technically difficult.
Thank you.
Are you able to get us the numbers? It's not right now, I understand, of course.
Basically, I can probably pull it up on a camera, do a little bit, throw some color matching software on there and get us a close, I was gonna say, I almost said close enough for government work. I need a new phrase, but a very close approximation of them.
Well, that'd be perfect. So we'll go with that as the color scheme. And Mark, thank you for picking that because that's, again, it can be completely different.
Mark, do you guys think you'll get a mock-up before you
Yes,
sign off on it? Okay,
definitely.
great. Thanks.
That's why the sooner we get the colors in them, explain to what we're looking at, this is what we can do. So Matt, actually, are you able also to send me either a JPEG or some version of the logo, the town logo, so we can make sure that's added in?
I believe we can track something like that down. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
it's not too graphically complicated.
Okay. So that's the plan. And then the logo
I
will
mean,
be sitting in
sorry,
center
I meant
court.
the logo itself, not the process.
Yes,
The
I
process is
understand.
very easy. The logo itself should be not too demanding for a paint job.
Perfect. Okay. So that's the scheme. Everybody all set discussion wise? All right, all those in favor, Celine,
Yes.
David Brohl,
Yes.
Mark Sant,
Yes.
and David Dempsey.
Yes.
You guys keep changing spaces, so I just go, you around the circle. That's it with the court right now. We're doing well. I think we're in good shape. So unfortunately, Brian is not here for the canoe kayak talk regarding to the stones. Jack, I know he's not here, but did you have any additional you wanted to add to that?
He should pop on any moment, Michael. He
Then
just,
let me switch up. I'll just change the agenda so when he comes on, we'll step in. Because I told him I would literally go right to it when he got on. So
yeah, 10-4, he's got his kids, but he should be, his name should pop up any moment. So
Okay.
look forward to it. Thank you.
all right. We have Diane and Matt here to talk about the IT, all the new things hopefully that we can do, as well as whether it's enhancing the website to help with the Recreation Committee with applications and all that. So one, thank you both. I didn't get a chance to welcome you initially, but now you've got a chance because you jumped in and already helped us out. So thank you. But I'd like to hear kind of what the plan is and ideas or questions you may have of us that we can possibly work towards.
Okay, so thank you again for your time. This basically is a follow-up to our April 5th discussion. And for those folks who weren't on the call, basically we started a discussion about how the rec committee and the treasurer's office and the IT world can sort of all work together to develop best practices when it comes to receiving applications, processing the applications, receiving payments, et cetera. So if you remember the people that were on the April 5th call, you know, there's been, I think this is a very timely discussion because I think with the addition of the basketball courts, the field rental house, the field rentals themselves, I think looking at how we do things and are there ways that we can improve the process, I think it's timely. Our office got involved primarily to serve as the function of receiving the payments. And it has sort of been a little bit more involved in that. We've been, you know, receiving applications, sending them over to the committee, following up on things that weren't maybe there as part of the application process, communicating with payments, you know, following up on payments. So, you know, my concern when I first came to you a couple of months ago was that we don't sit on the committee. We don't serve as a member of the committee. And, you know, following up on those things, I think, you know, we could probably work together to come up with a better process. So that was the discussion that we had in April, and with Matt now on board as our new IT communications manager, I thought, you know, we would revisit the discussion about scheduling software, improving the application online, maybe receiving payments online, so that we don't have folks on the field playing when they haven't made their payments, things like that. So, you know, I talked to Matt briefly about it. He has some experience and some resources that he can tap into to help us with that. But that was basically the start of our discussion.
Yep. Yeah, Diane, sorry, I'm sort of jumping in on the quiet moment. Yeah, Diane brought it to my attention. My knee-jerk reaction, without getting a lot more information, would be to sort of use the existing Parks and Recreation Committee portion of our Civic Plus page as a sort of a sounding board, a notification source, a way to basically mass communicate stuff out. Since I have the keys to the kingdom on that, it's a very simple matter of, you get me the news, we get it out on all the channels. As far as actually booking and collecting payment, the Civic Plus website isn't so much geared up for that. It's more of a general communications tool as opposed to sort of a commerce or a scheduling tool. There are resources out there. In fact, the last town I worked with, North Reading, actually had a specific site dedicated. It was a hosted service that they linked to off of their actual departmental page. And that's where they would handle all manner of online booking, payments for bookings, scheduling notifications of changes, stuff like that. It was a purpose-built tool that does, it sounds, at least from what I've gathered so far, everything you're looking for. And because it's cloud-based, it's a very convenient matter for example, the treasurer's office to be able to go on there and confirm payment's been received. For folks on the committee themselves who want to be actively involved in, arranging which resources are available when, or making decisions over, or split decisions on if we get a double booking or there's a tie in who got in there first, the rest of the committee can be involved in that part of it.
So I think, we had, again, Celine, a while back, probably a couple of years ago, there were some suggestions on scheduling software. I think the committee was for moving forward with it. Definitely it would improve the process. I mean, we do everything now from issue building permits, death certificates, vital records, dog licenses. We have that ability with technology. And I think it will, again, serve the applicants, the committee, and the treasurer's office in the town if we were to try to move forward with some sort of streamlined process. Because right now there is still some uncertainty about who's handling what, how it's being handled, the follow-up, et cetera. And I'm still unclear after being involved in this process for 3 or 4 years, how the process actually works from start to finish. So, I think with Matt's help, we could start to explore some of those and put them back again in front of the committee for consideration.
So that was the intention when we switched the pay schedule and how to reserve the fields. And then COVID hit. Honestly, the town took over from the rec committee the registration process prior to us being on the committee. And so we've kind of always been on the outside, and everything is kind of done through the town. And not to say that shouldn't change. I'm just saying that's kind of what we inherited.
Registration in terms of what? Because
all the paperwork went directly to the town and payment. We never saw anything until approval process.
See, and again, that's not my understanding. My understanding is if someone wants to drop off an application because they can't upload it online, we're basically receiving it in, turning it over to you. And Lindsay, unfortunately, who couldn't be with us tonight, has really done a lion's share of following up on that. And we're really in a position where we're not voting members of the committee. We don't sit on the committee. And that's not something that as I understood it, we were responsible for, although Lindsay has continued in that role. And I don't see it as, my understanding was we turned everything over to you and you were to inform the treasurer's office what the payment was. And we were to confirm for you that the payment was in fact received. And that's not how things have been working. So as you can see, we're all sort of operating under these assumptions that things work a certain way, and there's just not clarity. So
and I agree. When we all joined the committee as new members, I mean, that was kind of the way things were going, and we were trying to do other projects, so we never really kind of took a grasp on that, I admit.
Yeah, and I think this is timely because here we are, basketball courts, field rental house, field rentals themselves. And, as you're expanding what you're going to be providing, I think, it makes sense to make it as easy as possible for everyone. including the committee and the applicants themselves. So I just think it's a great time to really make sure everyone understands what their roles are and what's the best practice for handling these types of applications and the way we move forward.
Do you think an expedited online scheduling system would be helpful?
That was the goal. That was always the goal when we made the transition. We were exploring different systems before COVID hit.
I remember with Susan, I remember that.
Yeah, that's kind of where we left off. But I actually haven't even really delved into the whole application itself and what is needed. And, you know, I'm assuming that was all stuff that the town required. The town went through it when they took it over from the rec committee and they decided what they felt they needed.
Can I interject here with?
Mark, go ahead.
There's a couple of things. The whole process from my perspective has been evolving, and you're absolutely right, Diane. There is no clarity. There are a number of assumptions. One of the things that I was operating from was because we are not employees of the town, but committee members, that there are certain legal things that we didn't want to get involved in. And I could be way off base, but this is where I was operating. Like, we don't handle, we can't make the deposits. We have to hand them to somebody to make the deposits. When we're looking at the certificate of insurance, and Lindsay's caught this a couple of times, where the actual document would have expired in the middle of the summer, and she was able to correct it or identify it, bring it to the attention of the applicant, and made sure that they provided a more current, or one that would be current through their application season. So there are my question to Tracy and to you, Diane, I guess, is what are some of the things that committee members are allowed to do and should be doing to reduce any exposure problems that could arise by our role?
I don't think there's any particular exposure right now with the way that we're doing it. I think what's happening is when I say we, the Treasurer Collector's Office doesn't know whether or not the committee has approved this person's application. So Lindsay takes it in, she looks at it, makes sure the insurances are correct, like you just mentioned, and then just passes it off. I assume she puts it in the rec committee's box, Diane. And then it would go to you for further action in terms of approval, scheduling, and the likes. But we want to make sure we don't get into a situation where people are out, actively playing on the fields and we haven't received their checks yet, their fees, things like that. So if it was something where they could schedule online, if you guys aren't opposed to it, Matt can look at some of the best programs and see if we can get something up and running. So at least that piece of it. No, you don't want to do that?
No, I would love it to be all.
No, I'm all for
Yeah,
it.
no,
That
we
was a
didn't
no,
wanna
yes.
interrupt
Like,
you.
we're
We've
just
been
saying,
trying to-
yes, please.
We've been trying to get that going for a while,
Well, I think there are two different issues here. One is the application process, and the other is the scheduling. While they are related, they're not the same. I think it would certainly be important to have a schedule available, not just for us, but in other towns. You can go online to see who's using the field, and if there's any discrepancy, we've actually had the police come in and say, this is the organization that has the permit, and therefore this group needs to leave. So it becomes not just public knowledge, it becomes a source for whomever is enforcing the non-use of the field with a permitted versus non-permitted. The application part is a second issue, while related, in terms of, yes, some of that, there needs to be a way in which the materials are brought to one central place. And what I've been operating from is, once we've received an application and doesn't need to be complete, we are aware of it, and it gets followed, had been being followed by Lindsay, and we could vote on it, because we do have a mechanism in which people could have put a deposit down, but they need to pay before the season starts. And we could either try to have a way to do that online, monitor that online, or modify the current situation so that everybody's acutely aware of if the payments have been received and who in fact should be hunting down the payments. And I don't believe it's Lindsay who should be tracking down payments for the Recreation Committee.
Is there a way that we can, I mean, they can't say that the field is reserved unless payment is made? I mean.
Yeah, that's our rule.
That's
That's our rule.
the goal.
But
Yeah,
when they reserve and they submit their application, they need to submit the payment with it.
right.
That's what we
Right.
have written as our procedure. Whether we followed it or not is a different issue.
So I think that's also an item where I think we're unclear. We need a copy of whatever the most recent policy and procedure. I don't know if it's the one that was revised on January 13th of 18, or, you know, it would be nice for us to start with what's the process, what's the policy, you know, how is the information being transmitted to the committee, who's responsible for what? I mean, I think we just need to look at the whole picture. In conjunction with what's the best way for us to, you know, is there an online way to handle uploading, you know, the application, the insurance certificate, who's responsible for reviewing it? And once the application is deemed complete and the field dates have been selected, if they can make a payment online or drop off the check, whatever it is, I mean, we can do that. We do that in the building office. Then you hit a button and the schedule frees up. I mean, you know, I think it's just, we just need to look at the whole thing because there's just a lot of uncertainty and we want to work with you to make it better.
Yeah, I believe ultimately most of the solutions that I've seen so far sort of doesn't merge them, but keep them very closely tied together. So when an application goes in, a reservation spot, the slot gets put in place. And that spot is sort of pending until the application is complete. You know, they show their paperwork, they do their payment, whatnot. If that doesn't happen, the spot automatically frees up and everyone can see that. There doesn't have to be like a bunch of calls or emails going around to find out if something's been done. All concerned parties, and that could be anywhere from 3 to 3 dozen people, whoever we see fit, can all go, yep, no, there we go, we're good. And it can also be updated quickly. So, you know, if there's a last minute, I just got my payment in at the 11th hour, everybody knows. There's less room for confusion and less room for contesting whether something was actually done or not.
Yeah,
calling me out that everyone can go pop right onto this hosted site and go. So I'm looking at an imaginary phone next to my phone that's doing the meeting. Looking to go, oh yeah, no, look, there's the opening right there, and they can show whether or not the place is actually reserved or not. There doesn't have to be two people disputing and have a third party come in and resolve it. It'll just be there for the world to see.
I hear what you're saying, and a number of the sites that I've looked at have that capability. One of the challenges we have is by our own policies, we have a list of priorities of who can rent it out. So it's not a first come, first serve. So you can't block somebody out. So if the Triton Brick Throwers want to use it as a nonprofit, they can sign up for it. If a club program for brick throwing wants to use it, they can sign up for it. We get the applications for those dates, and then we can look at them and say, our priority goes to this group because they are the recreational league versus the club team, or they're a local individual. So it would need to have the capacity to allow everybody to secure, put their name on that date or dates. And then it's the responsibility of the recreation committee to work with the organizations to say, yes, you can have it because you are here. There's a priority system, not first come, first serve.
Yeah. I believe it's not a mutually exclusive concept. The first come, first serve generally is with no human intervention whatsoever. However, if we have the keys to the kingdom for whatever service we end up going with, that always allows for manual override. So someone with someone with sufficient permissions, in all likelihood, someone from the committee, like you just mentioned, can say, you know, if the two competing groups show up, well, the one with priority, well, they obviously get it. So we bump the other one and we notify them, sorry, this space was taken due to a previous or a higher commitment or a legal obligation or whatever terms the policy has. You can say, sorry, please pick another time.
Yeah, the committee will have to provide guidance to Matt in terms of, okay, we want, generally speaking, we know the Triton Youth Sports has this time that they, you know, use it for this event. And then you can do first come, first serve on open times if you want, but you'll just have to give him the guidance for how you want to establish it.
So we have been searching for a couple of years for this and pulling our hair out and talking to people and having people come in and listening to Matt for about 5 minutes. He seems to have covered the basics of everything what we need.
Yep.
And from our point of view, or at least from my point of view, it's kind of like a sign of fresh air because every time we come across this, it's one of those things we delay it for another month because we pull our hair out trying to figure out a way to do it. So this is good news.
Oh yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to I'm not going to be reinventing the wheel or designing some magical solution from scratch. I just want to make sure I can reach. I've got contacts in other municipalities. So we can find out what works, what doesn't work. You know, let someone else be that first penguin in the water, and then reap the benefits of all of their labor. We can go once they've done all the pain and suffering. We can go cherry pick the solution that works best based on everyone else's road testing.
Yep.
Are you comfortable with us moving forward with securing something, or do you want it before the committee first, or options, or how do you want to move forward?
I personally would like to see what you guys find, just
Okay.
because from a fiscal responsibility for the group, we got to make sure whatever comes in and we can afford it and make sure we have it. It's not conflicting with plans that are going on. But thank you very much. I certainly appreciate Matt. Is I concur and echo what David said. It's been good. It's certainly you've given us a lot of positive information. Hopefully we can move this forward.
Yeah, I'll put some calls out and get some feelers out and let you know what I find.
And then we'll just schedule you on the next available meeting that when you're ready, and we'll go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
Diane, is that good
And
with you?
Diane,
Yeah, I think that's great. I think what you may find is with enhanced improvements on the application process, you may actually see some increases in your revenue. Just because it will be easier, it'll be clearer. And I think, it will just be, I think it's just a great time to redefine the process and everything and move forward in that direction. So Matt, my last question would be, who should Matt be in touch with Michael? Okay. So Michael, could you just send Matt or somehow, do you have each other's email?
I'm pretty sure I got his, unless you're using, are you still using the one for the town, Matt? Or do you want to use something different?
This is absolutely town business. This should go through my town email. Yeah.
Then
I would
that's
send
fine.
it to technology@townofnewbury.org.
Not a problem.
Thank you again for your time.
I just want to say this has been a goal of mine from the beginning, is to minimize the amount of work that this volunteer committee has to put in for this. I think it should be an online scheduling system, and thank
It's
you,
something
Matt.
we always intended up here. We just didn't know how to execute.
Right. I think we finally have the resources. to
Not
do
my
it.
thing.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you.
we're on it. All right, thank you,
Thank you for your
everybody.
time.
Thank
Yep.
you.
You.
Thanks, guys. We're going to back shift now to the canoe and kayak discussion. Brian, thank you very much for your patience in coming in tonight. I don't know if you're still there.
There we go.
He is.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I'm like, everybody else does this too.
Well, when we talked briefly that night after the town meeting, as you were kind of just walking by real quick, I certainly appreciate it. And Jack and I have known each other since our daughters were first grade, I think. So our pre-kindergarten or something like that. So
Do you really want to admit to that?
yeah, I can do that. Jack and I we can certainly agree to disagree on a lot of things, but it's still a very good friend of mine. So I have no problems in saying that.
Absolutely, Mike. Amen.
You're aging yourself. Anyway, so yeah, what happened the other day? You guys went out with Dan, right?
I did, yes.
So what did Dan have to say?
Well, there's a lot of details that need to be worked out. You know, things sound one way on, you know, in conversation, but they may not get translated down the pipeline to an actual, here's the document. So there was a lot of concerns. We couldn't identify whether it was a saltwater or freshwater wetlands area that you'd be crossing from the parking area at the bottom of the property that is paved to walk over. The trail maintenance is not much of an issue. That can be done, but then the question then becomes where are we putting in, and what kind of structure would be put in. If there's nothing to be put in, then what are we doing? I mean, the question becomes what. I think the question, Jack, is what specifically, you know, what do you see as a structure to get the paddle craft into the water? And when we talked about rocks, I think I understand what you're saying, but not certain. And how does that impede or interact with the wetlands?
I'll try to set the table for Brian a little bit. You haven't walked down there recently, Mark. Is good. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make that meeting. Notwithstanding the crossing, that whether it's again, it's a briny meet at the bottom of the land, at the bottom of where the asphalt is, where that little rock parking lot area is. As you curl around the point, you'll come to a slight decline to where the high water mark of the tide is. And you'll note it by the low, they're not cats, it's a different kind of grass. And from that point, there's about maybe a 15 or 20 foot walk through the grass. And then at that point, it turns to the silty sides embankment of the Parker, where you either slide down at low tide or you simply put into the water directly at that point. As for any structure, I don't believe there would be any structure necessary, because the natural formation of the way it is lends itself to an easy dispatch of them, whether it's canoe or kayak. As far as I'll defer to Brian backwards in terms of that 25, 30 feet crossing that we're talking about, whether it's as much freshwater runoff, drainage from the field, as well as very much full moon, high tide push up from the water itself, for sure, Mark. That's a factor, but I'll defer to Brian, who understands the Yankee approach we're trying to take in terms of working directly with what Mother Nature's giving us and trying to keep the cost to an absolute minimum, and while it's still engaging the recreational process. So I'll defer to Brian, and I thank Brian for taking the time. And beautiful little child there, Brian. Keep her aboard, man. Looks good.
Right. I just bring the entertainment. Okay, excuse me. Thank you. All right. So a few of the details I heard stand out. The Concom recently put together a dock policy with the intent of making sure that any docks that get put in get reviewed by all of the relevant agencies. The previous stance had allowed some things to slip through the cracks regulatorily, and so we weren't getting input that we should have been getting, in terms of whether or not a resource was being impacted. The talk of freshwater wetlands, raises a couple of alert signals in my head, just because freshwater tidal wetlands are a much rarer creature than saltwater tidal wetlands. And so, you know, that would have to go through a review process of some sort, first to establish whether or not they are or aren't, and if they are, you know, what to do about it. In terms of the structure or lack of structure, the experience we just had with a different doc, we were how should we put it? There was a test case of our policy, and we were stuck with somebody who is trying to abide by the letter of the policy, and you know, maybe not the spirit of the policy. You know, it's a coin toss. You know, I'm sure you could get different opinions on that. But the trick of it for us became, is it less impactful to have a structure that we don't want to be there, or to have, you know, no structure and have this landowner just sort of climbing down to the river to do their own kayak launch? And in the end, we ended up going with the structure, leaving out about 3 months of review, but you get the idea. And so I think if there were to be sort of a non-structural launch, that would have to sort of, we'd have to show that the impact of usage would be, say, less than if there was to be a structure in place, especially, you know, if there was freshwater wetlands involved. Put it down here. All right, excuse me, we have to put it down here. So those sorts of things come to mind. So I'll pause there. Do you want me to go down any of those particular rabbit holes or minefields that I just opened up? Or do you want to?
I'll try to keep it simple for everyone. There's two crossings we're talking about effectively. There's the cat o' nine tails stylings from the bottom of the asphalt approach over to what's nothing less than a peninsula, which brings you to the entirely saltwater tidal park itself. It's an estuary, Brian, that kind of curls around the point at high tide that allows for both, again, the dispatch of water from the fields, as well as the meeting of the salt water there. So that crossing is the one of the ones that would, where I think Mark is talking about, would we come across with rocks, or how would we come across that? Because we wouldn't have to. We could actually walk around the large knoll, Mike, you know, the large knoll where the tree is. We can actually walk around it and use the trail system that's on the peninsula and avoid that approach entirely, Mark, if we, as necessary, and as in fact how I've gone out before many times. I've dragged my thing across the knoll, and we could bring it out to Brian, where it would just be where the discussion lends itself to, where you're speaking of the test case, where trying to stay away from a structure or respond, you know, not our environmental responsibilities, but the responsibilities of maintenance toward any structure that would maybe become necessary, and trying to avoid that and working at peace with, you know, nature, as we discussed when we talked in the street a month or so ago. So I think that would be, you know, we could avoid the entire freshwater wetlands, saltwater meet entirely, to try to forward the process. But then I would ask that, you know, either Dan or yourself or I and Mark, or the four of us, see the 20 at high tide. It's not an approach at all that you wouldn't put in right from high ground, Brian. Only at low tide, of course, would we be impacted to slide across some of the mud. So you know, I would be deferring, or I guess we would all be deferring to the Concom's view of that approach during low tide formats, when if somebody was so inclined to try to stay in the trench down low for the entire 3 mile to paddle out, then, you know, bless them as well. So I guess it would leave us with that. We can avoid any consternation at the freshwater saltwater meet, and can we get some guidance regarding the actual launch area with or without structure, preferably without, based on what you say.
Can I interject real quick then, Jack?
Go.
And I don't know if Tracy's still here.
No,
I like
she
the
left.
idea of going over the knoll, going down to where you put in, where other people may put in, without a structure. So the question is, why are we having, if you can already do that and people already have access to that, why do we need to, what is there for us to do other than label it as a canoe access? And then that question becomes, because it is a town project and the towns are required to make everything ADA compliant, though they can apply for an exemption, why would we want to create this on paper if you're already able to do this? Unless we want to put structure in, and then that becomes, again, needing to conform to ADA requirements. I know some people are saying, well, how would a person with a disability kayak? Well, if you don't have friends who have limited mobility, I feel for you, because there's a lot of things that they don't have access to that we take for granted.
We have, absolutely. My brother was in a wheelchair for 18 years. I have nothing but respect for all and every challenge in life that we foster. I submit that we have the Parker River Landing, which provides great access for handicap. If we had to show that we give access, and as Mark, we discussed, the state launch over at the Plum Island station along the Parker River is very rudimentary. In fact, a lot more impactful than we're proposing. That I'm hoping that Brian or Dan or both can join us to see that tiny or that low tide, call it an impact zone for the lack of a proper term for the moment, Brian. If that could be directed, that would give Mark and I guidance to come back to the committee and give a better idea of what it can possibly take fiscally or physically in order to create something, whether it's signage and rocks or signage and hey, it's okay, based on what you are able to tell us or guide us to, if that's okay.
Yeah. So I think the answers I have at the moment are going to be unsatisfactory, just because, the role of the Concom, generally speaking, is, we can tell you what we have in mind, and we can tell you like what would trigger us, in a manner of speaking, but we don't actually like tell you what to do. We'll just sort of, say, hey, this is what we know won't work, or this is what we know we'd like to see broadly. But if we get into the specifics, it's sort of, it gets tricky. Usually that's the role that the agent would play. And I think we've got a new agent coming on in about 2 weeks. And so that might simplify this process a little bit. And then we don't need to necessarily get the members, in a manner of speaking, going down those slippery slopes of saying something would be workable and then finding out that it isn't.
No. First off, understood entirely that the design build process is not in the purview of the Newbury Concom, and that purely the conversations we would have overlooking the muck, as it were, would be entirely towards Mark and I having that more formal conversation to come, but we would be that much more informed for the guidance that the agent would be more officially able to allow us, and again, in furtherance of what we're going towards. But certainly guessing, Mark and I guessing what could or couldn't go isn't, won't get us in the right direction, and it'll slow the process.
Narrow down your guessing a little bit, but you're going to still be left with guessing in the end.
Yeah.
So, I like the idea of just skipping one of the crossings just because it simplifies the process, and the freshwater issue would be presumably more complicated. The issue with sort of the high water versus low water impacts, I don't know that distinguishing would matter, from the regulatory end of things, from the way we look at it. Just because if you have people, traversing in the area, if you have enough traffic, then it's still going to have an impact, even if, it's quote unquote less, right? Even if it's a mild, well-built, blah, 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 it's, tidy and smart and perfect natural launch. If you have enough people, enough traffic, something will change.
Oh,
And
without
so,
question.
if you think about, like at the beginning of the pandemic, all of the trails that, all of a sudden weren't holding up the way they used to. It's that kind of consideration that we'd have in mind talking about that. In terms of, would it still be less impactful than perhaps putting in the structure? That's the thing to sort of sit in front of the board and, bat around. You want another drink? Excuse me, I have to pour a drink. So I'm trying to think of ways I can say helpful things other than just being like a killjoy.
Well, we're just trying to find out, to be honest with you, Brian, it's just a question of what are our options, what could work, that's not overly expensive, but something that's also going to be appropriate.
Well, what I'm hearing, I don't mean to jump in over anybody, is Jack and I create a proposal. So we have something concrete to present, working with the new Conservation Commission agent to get his input before we go to the Conservation Commission for their insight and approval.
That sounds like a good idea. So just let us know when you're ready. We'll put it back on the agenda and
It'll be
we'll
a
go
lot
from
easier.
there.
And we'll try to get as much detail. And again, if this is okay with you, Jack, the whole idea is to wait until the new agent is on board and, work with him to get the details that are necessary to make a successful project. In the meantime, Brian, if you would like to come down and visit the area, love to have the kids there.
Yeah, we've got to be 3-year-old friendly.
Absolutely, Brian. We'll all enjoy the walk. And I say that part of this, I agree entirely, Mark. I look forward to the exchange of emails, and we'll keep all in the loop accordingly. I say that one of the points Brian made to me in our street conversation was, we all can't lose sight of that this is already a use that's being done. And we're trying to enhance the use because it exists already. So, we want to try to guide it to a positive way because, again, Brian had made a great point about it. It is that, a use it needs to be proactive for the town and for the people that it's doing it for the benefit of all, whether it's the environment and the people involved. And I appreciate, Brian, you making that point back when we're just trying to enhance a continued use so that there is minimal impact. And I hope that plays a great role for everybody involved, because I think again, it's an asset. I emphasize to anybody, even the casual, ride the tide out. You don't even have to paddle. It's the most wonderful excursion you can take in the town of Newbury for free. Honest to goodness, it's awesome.
Excellent. Well, we certainly look forward to hearing back from you guys regarding to where you stand and what we can do. And again, this is just the beginning of a project. It was the next on the list, and we're also looking at some other things, but this certainly is a good start to moving forward. So thank you all for coming. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Just to to go with one of Jack's points that he just reminded me of. If you go out there now and can document, get the pictures of, what it looks like as is, right? Like it's experiencing current use, right? Whatever that happens to mean. This is the current use scenario. If there is something where you look and you go, oh, we can reduce impact based on current usage by doing X, right? You're not starting from a fresh, clean slate. An improvement is an improvement, right? And so if, the idea is to do less, right? You don't want to build out a full dock for $100,000 or something ridiculous like that, right? You want to do something a little bit more manageable. If you can document that, even this first step you're taking, right? Maybe you'll do something if you do one season you do one thing, next season you do another thing, you do a piecemeal. If you can document and show that you're improving from the regulatory perspective, improving or reducing the impact on the resource area, then you've got a win.
Nice.
Good point.
Stage it and build it out slowish. That should still work because you're reducing a negative impact and bringing it under control, right? If you take that perspective into what you move forward with, I think what you will end up coming out with will be, regulatorily fairly straightforward job. And obviously, grab the doc policy. I think it's on the website. I was asking to make sure it was on the website like 2 weeks ago. So hopefully it's there by now. And if it isn't, we need to get that up. But we do have a doc policy. And, if you have a look at it, it should help simplify as well the various ideas that might be floating around.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anybody else, any other questions? Okay. Guys, thanks very much. And again, let us know when you're ready for round 2 and we'll start looking at things at that point. So, okay.
Thank you for everybody's time.
Well, let's say bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Bye. You have entertainment at the Recreation Committee.
Yeah. He's the future of the Recreation Committee right there, right?
All right, we're good.
Yeah, right here. You want to hit the button, Orla? You want to hit the button?
A button?
No, this red button right there. Oh, there we go. Hit the red button. There it is. Oh, try again. Oh, try again. There you go. Now the red button again, the big.
There it is. You hit the button.
Got the button.
The last 2 things I have on the business is any new field applications we have scheduled for tonight. I thought I saw one. I went back to my emails, and unless I'm missing one, I think we have everything scheduled. We have the summer stuff worked out, and we have the Council on Aging doing their yoga. If I missed something, I apologize. Been a little busy. Anybody else know of anything else that's out there?
Somebody from La Crosse mentioned, I said, get the application in. That's on them.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet then.
Then don't worry about it.
Okay. The last thing on this is the status of our committee for next year. This is our last meeting scheduled before the end of the month. We need to make sure that if you're going to return, we need to make sure you've submitted your letter to the select board so they can put it on the agenda so you can be considered. You've completed your conflict of interest information, and is everybody made a decision, or are they still deciding? I just want to make sure I have an idea, because if God forbid we lose somebody, I want to make sure that I got to get with Alicia to work, or we all need to start talking about potential fills. Celine, have you, I'm just going around the room so you're all going to get a chance to answer. So Celine, have you made a decision yet, or?
Yeah, I resubmitted for 1 more year, but it's getting harder and harder every year.
No.
Yeah.
David Brohl?
I sent mine in today and I have my conflict of interest thing done. So I don't know, what do I do?
You hold on to it in case there's any questions, unless
okay.
I hear differently. I was gonna say, is it freshly printed too?
It was printed about, I don't know, 5 minutes before the meeting started. So
Okay.
yes.
I wasn't able to print mine, but it's done.
Yeah.
I have as a PDF. I was able to do it that way. Mark?
I defer to the select board to determine whether they want me as part of this group or not.
Have you submitted your application?
I did, with caveats.
Okay. David Dempsey,
Yes, I do plan on return. I have not submitted my application yet, but I will.
please get that done, because if you don't get it before the end of the month. Alicia, do you know when the next, actually I can just check the committee. Calendar.
I
Well,
can
the
get that
select board's
done.
meeting on the 22nd of June, I believe, and we'll be doing appointments to all boards and committees then.
Yeah, I can get mine
Yeah.
done tonight.
All right, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
And then they can choose at that point whether they want to keep us or not. We can go from there. As I told you previously, I have submitted my renewal application as well. I would like to offer or either request or whatever. I've been chair for 4 years. If someone would like to take it over, I am more than happy to at this point. As Celine said, I'm buried between all the different meetings and then setting up agendas and all the different things. And unfortunately, some personal things that are going on with my family. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. So if someone wants to step in and take the role, really the main things you would really have to work right now is mainly setting the agenda, meeting with, responding to any emails that come from the town. And then if you get the agenda set, I'll still post it. I still have the access to the website and can certainly do things. I'm not going anywhere, but at the same point, I'm a little burnt. So I'd rather ask you guys.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I so appreciate this committee. You guys stepped up. You really are the, that I am aware of, the only working committee that actually, does work. You schedule, you do payments, you do all of that stuff. And it's been my intention to simplify that for you guys from the beginning. I'm glad that with Matt on, that hopefully, it's my hope that that sooner rather than later. It's my hope that by the fall, you'll have a new application process on board and take that workload off. I'm hoping that you all do stay on because it'd be nice to see your work with the basketball court come to fruition next year. But I know what the commitment is, and I just want you to know that I'm really appreciative of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lish. Anybody else? Oh, go ahead, David.
I probably am not going to be able to take over your position because I think I've been roped into helping out or being on another committee too. So I'll have another town committee to be involved with right now.
So let me just speak to that a little bit. I think for the planning department and through the town administrator, they're going to reactivate the open space committee and look at, in conjunction with the rec committee, building a recreation / open space plan for Newbury. So I had asked David if he would sit on the rec committee because on the open space committee. And when the board meets, we're going to look at all of that again. But I think it's important that you guys have some representation on the open space committee so that the right hand's talking to the left hand, so to speak.
Alicia, is again with our composite, the open space committee did have actually the planning committee had representation on our board, so it's solidifying that.
Wait a minute, the planning, we don't have a planning committee, we have an elected planning board.
Okay,
Is that what you mean?
That's not what I'm getting at.
Okay,
What I'm getting at is part of our statement of charge is we had a representative or designee from the Council on Aging as well
Yes.
as from the planning office for just this purpose, to have a coordinated approach.
the Council on Aging is, I'm gonna look into that, to finding with the new girl Cindy.
Yep.
But finding a liaison with that way through her. And I know what I forgot to tell you. I have a Triton student. I've got the
Good.
name of a Triton student that is interested in sitting on this committee because part of your charge also is to have a Triton Newbury resident. So I think I don't know if he's an entering junior or senior. I got his name from Brian. So he's gonna submit a letter to the
Excellent.
select board. And we'll have that person on there too. So
Did you
Mark,
say he wants to be chairman?
I know. I don't think that, but maybe we could circle back and I don't understand what you're saying, but we could talk maybe offline about that so that I'm clear.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. our next scheduled meeting, tentatively, as long as we're all reappointed on the 22nd. What do we want to look at for dates?
We've been doing every 2 weeks for like the past 4 to 5 months.
Oh, I mean, the only reason why we
It's
did
summer.
the reason why we had that one in the middle is because we had the basketball update and we had to do it. So I think we've got a lot right now. I mean, if we moved it out, the 5th of July, the 5th of January, the next was the first Monday of the month, which I don't think is going to work. So I'm thinking probably the 12th, which is 5 weeks out. Or do you want to push it out another week?
When do we need to,
What,
when do we
Mark?
need to approve applications for the fall term?
I don't know off the top of my head, Mark. We've all been involved in this. If someone else can answer that question, I'm more than happy to let them.
Depends on which document we want to look at.
While he's
Exactly.
searching that, is the spring schedule over on the field?
I think it finishes this week.
I think,
Okay. Go ahead.
Cross has until next week.
yeah, I think there's a little more time.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a
Usually
certain point,
coincides with the school year. Like
Yeah,
up
is there a
right
certain
before
point we can-
Father's Day.
we can ask them to move all of their stuff off the field? Or
We
do they
don't
just
want-
normally do that?
They typically do it at their leisure soccer because of GPS, or excuse me, the different
Rush.
clinics are left on there. Kids can use it. They have no objections of the public using their equipment.
While Mark's looking for this also, by the way, the next meeting, we're going to be bringing up the field house. We have been asked if people can open that up yet. And I've talked to Tracy and we can go back to pre-COVID cleaning, which would be that 3 times a week. But I haven't got a price yet. So as soon as I have that, that's why I didn't put it on the agenda for tonight. But we'll be discussing it the next meeting when we want to plan opening that. And then also we need to start talking about or finalizing whatever the field house policy regarding the rates and all that. Because when we were starting it, COVID came in and we had just gotten it. So we had tabled it for a period of time and next thing you know, now we're back at it. So that's something that's going to have to be addressed in the next meeting.
The document that's online with the Recreation Committee page has the fall season. Our applications are due by June 1st and permits are issued by July 1st.
That is so outdated. I know we redid it all with Mariah, and I don't know why it never made it online. I mean, we did this all with Mariah. Those dates were not those dates.
Well,
Elaine,
same
can we take this offline together and we can work on it? Like if you can give me 30 minutes and we'll look at what is the correct information and I'll make sure it gets posted correctly. And my suggestion is just to set your next meeting the middle of July. And then you only need 48 hours to post a meeting. And if you need to meet sooner, you can just post one.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have any applications for the fall, right?
Correct.
There's nothing to approve yet.
Oh.
But I'd like to meet with you if we could, Celine, and go over what's currently on the website, what needs to be on the website, and what's missing from the website.
So the question goes back to, no problem, thanks, Alicia. As it goes back to, are we looking at, do we want to stay on the Mondays? And are we looking at the 12th or the 19th? Which again, as I said, it's 5 or 6 weeks out.
Either.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The Monday, or I can do a Tuesday too, whatever is better for the committee.
I'd like to keep them on Mondays unless we have a problem that we have to switch off of it. It just makes it easier. We've been consistently staying there. I'd rather make
Yep.
sure we're there.
And another thing, remember your next meeting is going to be an in-person meeting, so you'll have to book a room too.
I'm already in the process. I'm sitting on the page as we speak.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying we can't just do these. I gotta make sure, because a lot of things are, Tuesdays are actually a bad night because there's a lot of meetings in there where Mondays they're not, so. Let's do the 12th, 6 to 7:30 at Town Hall. Celine, you don't have to send me a Zoom. Any questions, any problems with that date?
Nope.
Looks good.
Okay. Contingent on everybody being back, one, for some crazy reason, something changes. Thank you all very much for a very successful year. There's no way this gets done without everybody's hard work. Thank you, Alicia, for your support with the select board and with the town in getting these things done. So we certainly appreciate everything you've done to help us as well. So
Well, I thank you guys. And, you know, on behalf of Newbury, I thank you because what you guys have done will be beneficial for the generations to come. Thank you.
let's, which is funny, I just realized July 12th is actually the day they're breaking ground on the basketball courts too. So maybe, you know, maybe we get to see the first day of work over there. So if I don't hear anything else, do I hear a motion to adjourn at 7:26 p.m.?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:26 p.m.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
For the last time, I have to do a roll call around the room here. Celine, actually, no, David Dempsey,
Yes.
Mark Sand,
Yes.
David Brohl,
Yes.
and Celine Muldowney.
Yes.
Thank you all. We'll talk in about 5 or 6 weeks. So if anything comes up email wise, I'll send it back and forth.
Have a
Good to
great
see everybody
summer.
in person.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
same here. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.